two-time Grey Cup champion and Plaza of Honor quarterback of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Darian. It's brought to you by Campbell Safety. Do you know if your workplace has a proper safety program? If not, call Campbell Safety. Darian, we'll start here. You said last week in your prediction that the Philadelphia Eagles were going to win the Super Bowl because they were going to come out and be that much better than the Chiefs. I know you were pulling for the Eagles, but were even you surprised on just how dominant a win that ended up being?
You know what? I wasn't. I mean, this is just what I thought. I compared it to our 2013 team when Corey Sheets came in, and you know, I compare him to Saquon Barkley and the impact that a running back of that caliber can add to your team. And then, you know, when you can put points on the board as an offense and your defense is getting 2 and 3 and outs and taking the ball away and making it easier for your offense and getting them more possessions, you know, that Eagle team just reminded me so much of our 2013 team. So I just had a feeling that they were the more superior team. They were better at pretty much every position. And I had a pretty good feeling that the game would turn out this way.
Well, I thought we knew Philadelphia was good and we thought they would play well. I don't think anybody expected for Kansas City to play that bad. They just never got anything going. Probably one of the neat storylines coming out of the game is Jalen Hurts, who I think has carried himself with class even since college. So back in 2018, he gets replaced at halftime in the college football championship, and Tua takes over and they win, and then Tua Tagovailoa and rises to fame and all of that. He transfers schools, he leaves Alabama, and he has to go to Oklahoma. And then he gets drafted in the NFL, and then they go to the Super Bowl and they end up losing. To see him win, because you've played the position at quarterback, it's either all of the glory or all of the blame. And he just handled it with class. He had a moment after that game, and he could have been like, I told you. But he didn't. He thanked God, he thanked his teammates, and he just seems like just such a good guy.
And he's battle tested. I mean, if you look at, you know, the stops that he's made throughout his career, just starting at Alabama, just that fan base and the expectations that they put on you and, you know, the prestige of that university, you know, he dealt with a lot of scrutiny there. And then he goes to Oklahoma, which is another top tier program, and they have winning expectations as well. And he did a great job there. And then he goes to the, you know, one of the craziest fan bases in the NFL. And, you know, he goes to the Super Bowl within his first couple years. He gets a contract extension. A lot of people feel like he didn't deserve it. And but Philadelphia knew that he was their guy. He was the guy who has been through all of these stops. He's been through all of the trials and tribulations of, you know, being talked about as not being good enough, can't throw well enough. He's battle tested, man, and I'm just so happy that he was able to go out and perform and make the throws that was needed. You know, Kansas City's defense loaded up the box for Saquon Barkley, and they dared Jalen Hurts to throw the ball, and he did a great job. So, like I said, he's battle tested. I'm proud of him, and you know, that's just a true example of a guy who just fights through everything. Doesn't matter what people say, and it's all about winning.
I had said on the show Monday that a lot of the guys coming out of Alabama, especially the quarterbacks, they get an unfair rough ride. They had the best coach in college football in Nick Saban, and yet everybody kind of wants to hate on him. So yeah, he battled adversity and he came through. And you're right, Philly's a tough city. They can eat you up and spit you out pretty quick. And when things didn't go well, and he did, I think having that offensive line and most of the team being young and signed, I think Philly's going to be a force to reckon with for years to come. Curtis, do we have this ready to go? The best part about the past couple of days is on social media, some of the funny things that are coming out. There's a guy that managed to write a Philadelphia Eagles song. Curtis, do you want to roll this? I don't know.
Kansas City is a dynasty no more because of what happened on Sunday. Patrick Mahomes, he hasn't seen this before. In the pocket, he looks so uncomfy. Oh, and every time you turn around, another sack. You ought to know by now. Now who needs a Burrow to a Herbert or Love? My QB is chilling at Disney. Whoa, the Eagles took belt to ass, and That's what it's all about. Good run from the Chiefs, but you just got blown out. You got blown out. Candy, Andy.
Nice. You got to love that. That's some creativity. When you could take a Billy Joel song and turn that's a ditty. In your time playing for the Riders, did anybody ever make you a song or send anything your way musical?
Oh man, there were a couple songs that were made, especially when we were, known as Canadian Air Force. They put some lyrics about, touchdown passes to Fantus and Bag and those guys, Claremont, when he was with us. So, yeah, I just can't remember the lyrics, though. But I'm not a good singer, so it wouldn't sound good anyway.
I'm just trying to figure out what rhymes with Claremont. There's not like, if you're a songwriter, I don't know or what rhymes with Fantus. Like same thing. Like you got your work cut out for you. All right, so a little closer to home. Speaking of the CFL. The tampering window ended. Free agency officially started yesterday at 11 a.m. and a lot of the moves, not tons of surprises. The Riders went out today and they signed Sean McEwen, a 3-time All-Star, he's played, I believe, in Toronto. He's played in Calgary. Are you surprised how could the Calgary Stampeders let this guy walk away? He's been nothing but an All-Star for the past 3 years. Darian, nobody knows better than you how hard good Canadian offensive linemen are to find. So to let somebody like this walk away, is this a bit of a head scratcher to you too?
A little bit, it is. But, if you look at Calgary and their history, their past, they do a great job at bringing up old linemen off their practice squad or bringing in guys that you've never heard of, and they turn into all-stars. There's a lot of turnover in the Calgary offensive line meeting room. You've seen that throughout the year. So it's a little bit head scratching with the accolades that he has, but knowing Calgary and knowing how Huff and Dickey work, it's not that surprising.
Okay. Yeah, like I'd mentioned earlier in the show, maybe they have his replacement ready to go. Just the same thing. We've never heard of him before, but they're fully confident that they can lock and load for the upcoming season. Kalen LeBourne also joins Rider Nation today. Played the preseason in Toronto. J.O. said because of an injury, they had interest when Ajoulette got hurt, but all they could offer was a practice roster spot. He ends up signing with Ottawa. So now that makes 5 running backs that the Riders have. And last year, it was a struggle to get 2 backs on the roster. Do you think there's chess pieces here? Like we don't see fully all the moves yet, but they needed to stock up now for maybe what may play out down the road?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the style of play that the Riders are adapting to and the injuries that impacted that offense last season at the running back position and at O-line. Michael Johnson had to come in at O-line one game because they were devastated with injuries. You have to have depth. So, with Jeremy being a former O-lineman himself, he knows how important it is to have that depth, quality players in case guys go down. I don't know if Philip Blake is coming back to, he's an older guy and, he's been injury prone. So I think that you have to stack up with some of these younger guys, more reliable guys who can, get through a season and who understand what it takes, especially if guys get hurt, guys that are ready to step in and play right away.
Philip Gagnon from Montreal and the Alouettes, 9-year CFLer coming to town. That's a big man with a lot of experience.
Yeah.
It hasn't been the splash. It hasn't been the Edmonton Eskimo or Hamilton Ticats splashy free agency period, but just kind of quietly, things are coming together with this Rider roster. On the Gagnon front, are you thumbs up with him becoming part of Rider Nation?
Absolutely. I had a chance to play with Gags in Montreal, on my way out. And, as a young guy, he was just a beast. He's nasty. He's physical. He's everything that Jeremy would want in the O-lineman. Gags brings that to the team. So, a lot of these moves aren't your so-called sexy free agent signings, but he's doing a good job of just building depth because Those injuries just devastated the O-line last year. And, even with AJ, he didn't make it through the season. He was banged up. So you're going to need some quality guys behind him. And I think that lack of running game with the Riders last year, it was critical because, Winnipeg was able to just sit back in the playoffs and just play the pass. And, there wasn't really much of a threat of a run game.
We lost Miles Brown today. He signed with the Calgary Stampeders. I thought last year, by the end of the season, Miles Brown was really coming into his own and he was becoming a force. Like he was blowing up plays and he was, obviously with everything that went on and all the attention with the fines and all of that stuff. But when he was on the field, his body of work stood out. To me, he was one of the most improved riders from training camp until the end of the season. Did you see that as well in his play?
Absolutely. He became a disruptive force. Even though some things were questionable, I think that he would have been a good piece to bring back and to continue to see his growth. But, you can't bring everyone back. I think there were some key pieces with Marcus Sales and getting Micah Johnson re-signed and getting Roland Milligan re-signed. I think those were the main things that, that's the main priority, right? You have to get these guys back in the fold. You have to keep that chemistry going. And I'm sure guys took a little bit of a pay cut to make sure that they could continue to build that chemistry. I mean, you need more than 1 year together as a core in order to build, that toughness, that edge, everything you need to be successful in the playoffs. So to be able to run it back with your core guys going into year 2, I think is very important for the Riders.
Now, when you were playing, obviously you're the leader of the team, you're the starting quarterback. When free agency would roll around, was it asked of you or did you take it upon yourself? Would you reach out to the new guys that were joining the team, whether it's through text or a phone call, just to say, hey, welcome. If you need anything, here's Luke's house. You can stay there as long as you want, like all of that kind of stuff. Like, were you part of the welcoming committee to the new guys?
Of course. I mean, you want guys to feel at home. You want guys to feel like they're a part of the team immediately. I mean, some free agents come in and, they walk on eggshells a little bit. You don't know anyone. You haven't spoken with anyone since you signed. So you want to break that ice a little bit, talk to the guys, let them know that you're there. And it makes the transition easier, especially the guys who've been with one organization for, 4, 5, 6 years. And now you're starting all over. It's tough. So you want to, be that welcome piece and make sure those guys are, they feel like they're at home with their new squad.
Because you had to go through it as well. What was it like when you go to Montreal? Like, explain that and what you went through, because you're living what everybody else is living right now.
Yeah, well, it was a little bit different for me. I mean, there were guys like S.J. Green, Chip Cox, Bear Woods, John Bowman, Ryan Phillips, so many, Stefan Logan, so many veteran guys that I knew, just battling against those guys over the years that, it made it a little bit easier. Myself and Ryan Phillips, both coming from our respective teams, being there for over 10 years, having pretty much the same story of being let go and, told we're too old and looking for new beginnings and hoping that you can, revamp your career somewhere else. So it's a little bit different for me going in. These guys are young. These guys haven't spent 10, 11, 12 years in one place and, are trying to start over, so to speak. These guys are in their prime and, they're looking for championships. So it's a little bit different for them.
Well, I know. And everybody says that, oh, I'm really looking forward to playing in Rider Nation. Oh, yeah, no, it's always great to come here as a visitor or whatever. But as we've talked about on this show before, they really don't have any idea what it's like. Like we said, Saskatchewan is great when you're on the football team and you're winning and the weather is warm. But if it's February and it's -40 with the wind chill and you haven't won a Grey Cup in a while, everybody gets a little antsy. It just kind of happens, and it works out that way. So far, we didn't sign the big ticket, game breaker, field stretching wide receiver. If that doesn't come to fruition, do you think the Keyshawn Johnson and Dante Myers of the world can take those next steps to kind of grow into that? Because we kind of know what Emelis and Kean Schaefer-Baker are, but those would be sort of the untapped, I would say, quantities or entities in the Riders wide receiving core.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to. They're going to have to take the next step. Especially we don't know how Sean Bain is recovering or what's the timetable looking like for his return. And with Jared Stearns going to Winnipeg, these guys are going to have to step up right away. And luckily for them, they had plenty of playing time last year. They know the system. They get to come to camp and not learn. When you're learning in training camp, it's hard for you to play full speed. So with the guys having a year under their belt with the system, it makes coming into training camp that much easier. And the offense can pretty much, pick up from where they left off in the West Final and be able to build even more and more chemistry. So I think it's a good move to keep the core guys together. And, I like Keyshawn Johnson. I think, he's shown the ability to be a big play guy and get behind defenses. And, I'm sure that drop in the final hurt him, and he'll be coming back ready to go.
Another big move this week, the Riders ended up signing Tommy Stevens, who's a tank of a man at 6'4", 245. He's completed 61 of 63 short yardage plays in the CFL, coming over from the Calgary Stampeders, which meant Shea Patterson was expendable, and he ends up signing with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Oh, it's this play right here. It's funny, in the Riders highlight pack, Curtis, they don't include this play. Out of all the Tommy Stevens plays that they're putting out there, you don't put it against the home team. Do you like this move? If you're swapping out third down quarterbacks, a Stevens for Patterson, is this a move that you would make if you're J.O.?
Absolutely. I think this is a very great decision by Jeremy O'Day. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles in that tush push, and it's a 90% rate. Well, so is a Tommy Stevens quarterback sneak. He just has shown the ability to get first downs, to get touchdowns when it's needed, and that's going to put points on the board. And with Jake Mayer coming in, Shea Patterson became a little bit expendable. And, so it's good to bring in a third down guy who can come in and just get pretty much a guaranteed first down with this guy. He's a big man. And, there's an art to quarterback sneaks, and he's pretty much perfected it.
Okay, but as someone who played the position, did you like being taken out of the football game, or do you want to stay in for as many plays as possible and you get those first downs or those touchdowns, like when you're in the red zone? Because now a lot of it is like, no, starting quarterback out, short yardage in. Like that, you kind of want to be the guy, right?
Well, a 27-year-old Darian Durant didn't mind, but a 36-year-old Darian Durant, didn't want to take those hits on the quarterback sneak. So, you look at Trevor, there's no need to put those extra hits on him. He's a very efficient passer. You want his shoulders and his neck and his upper torso area to be protected. So, what better guy to bring in than a guy who's pretty much guaranteed. So this is a good move for J.O., and it also protects Trevor.
Well, one of the things that you had said, and I think a lot of Rider fans, we got to think that when they get to training camp, it's a continuation of last year. It's not a fresh start like last year was. Whole new coaching staff, all these new players. Yeah, there's going to be some new guys that are going to have to fit in, but the core of the team is coming back and firing on hopefully all of those cylinders. So you can kind of be like, and with Winnipeg having it, they have the same head coach, but they're going to have a new offensive coordinator. For as much talent as the Edmonton Eskimos have brought in, you still have a whole new coaching staff there. BC, you've got change. You've got it all over the place. Like, I think Ottawa is poised to potentially have a good start to the season just because of Bob Dice and the continuity there. You'd have to think that Hamilton will start better. The continuity, the coaching with Bo Levi and all of that. Toronto, the same thing. And as you know this, stacking those wins early, because they all get hard in late October and early November. And, where every inch matters. Absolutely. And so I think it's funny. The flashes were made early, as they usually are. And they say you can't win a Grey Cup in February. You can potentially lose one by what you're doing. But as you've seen before, flashy doesn't always let you hoist the championship trophy in November in the CFL.
Absolutely. You have to have a core, right? These O-line and D-line signings, these guys aren't well known. We know that, and that, I think that's why it's not a sexy thing when you hear, the Riders sign 2 O-linemen, or they bring in, a D lineman like Shane Ray or Rose or anybody like that. It's not sexy. It's not going to push the headlines, but what he's building with the offensive, defensive lines are very, very important. And we all saw the Super Bowl, right? We all saw what the Philadelphia Eagles D-line did to that Kansas City offensive line. And if you have some guys that can get after the passer, you don't have to blitz. You can just rush 4 and send them after the quarterback, and you're able to create pressure, then it's a win. So we'll see when it's time to put on the pads how this pans out. But right now, I think he's doing a great job of controlling the trenches.
Nice. All right. It's Double Talk, the special Wednesday edition with Darian Durant. Because of the holiday on Monday, we'll have you back on Tuesday. It's for CampbellSafety.com. Have yourself a great weekend. It's Valentine's Day. Have you done your shopping for the wife and the daughters yet? And if you haven't, listen, the Amazon does amazing things these days. Where's
Absolutely.
Darian in the romance department? Are the flowers already ordered and the card already written out?
Not yet. I'm a procrastinator. I'm a last minute guy. And but I will take care of all my girls, all 4 of them, and I'm looking forward to it. It's always good to show love. I'm running around a lot. I don't get a chance to be as affectionate as I would like, so I'm looking forward to this Valentine.
I know. So you got 4 Valentines in your house. I got 3. I got 2 girls and a wife. So, hey, I'm right there with you. As always, we love catching up with you. We'll grab some time on Tuesday. It's Double Talk on the all-new SportsCage. Oh, here we are. Oh, there he is. There's coming out of the tunnel.
Nice.
Like gangbusters. You're not going to tell Darian Durant that he's not bringing his whole team out as a group. Look at that.